we'll call our meeting to order. Welcome to the February Carmel Clay School Board regular session. The board's delighted you could join us this evening. We have some pretty exceptional presentations that we're going to move to. To begin, why don't we have Mrs. Freed take roll?
Madam President, I'm happy to report that all 5 board members are present.
Thank you. Next, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. And we're joined this evening by 3 Troop 131 Boy Scouts, Jacob Jones, Sean Neef, and Ben Spannenberg, who are going to help lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. They're working on a merit badge, and so we're delighted you could join us. Thank you. And to begin our special presentations, we have Dr. Swenson, who will be leading us.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, distinguished colleagues, fellow citizens, and honored students. It's a great pleasure this evening to turn to several very important awards that we have the pleasure to give out tonight. And first, I'm going to turn to the principal of Orchard Park Elementary School, Mrs. Rhonda Turner, who has a very special Junior Achievement Award to present.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to present to you one of our 5th grade role models at Orchard Park. As many of you know, 5th graders participate in Junior Achievements BizTown to learn many different economic standards. A part of that experience is each BizTown must have a peer-elected mayor. This year, our mayor did such an impressive job that he was recognized several months later for his outstanding work. His parents received a letter requesting he attend the Central Indiana Business Hall of Fame Black Tie event as a presenter due to the poise and leadership that he displayed during his experience. He went through some professional training. He had to learn how to use a teleprompter and all of those fun things. And he presented the award last Thursday night. So many schools across Indiana participate in BizTown, so it's quite an honor for him to be recognized and be selected for this role. It is a genuine honor to present to you future business leader and current 5th grade role model, Sebastian Penix.
We next turn to an honor received by our band at Carmel High School. The Sousa Foundation is a national organization of great renown, and as you would expect, its name connotes its heavy involvement and great affinity for bands. So I will now turn to the Director of Bands for Carmel High School, Mr. Chris Krakey, who will present and explain this award.
Thank you very much for the time and the recognition this evening. Carmel High School Marching Band has been awarded the prestigious Sudler Shield Award for Outstanding High School Youth and International Marching Bands. This award, administered by the John Philip Sousa Foundation and selected by a panel of 17 university and secondary directors of national and international reputation in the marching band field. The award is endowed by Lewis and Virginia Sudler and is one of the highest forms of recognition for marching band programs in the country. Celebrating its 25th anniversary year, the Sudler Shield was created by the Sousa Foundation to recognize and support international standards of excellence in music performance, marching execution, choreography, and show design for high school, youth, and international marching ensembles. Carmel High School is the 68th recipient of the award that includes representatives from 18 states and 11 international ensembles from 8 different countries. The award will be presented later this spring in a ceremony at CHS by Sudler Committee Chairman W. Dale Warren, who's the Director of Bands at the University of Arkansas. We're working on finalizing the date of that presentation. We'll make sure all of you are invited to that ceremony. The 220 members of the Marching Greyhounds are represented tonight by 4 of our outstanding student leaders. We decided not to bring the whole group into the room for everybody. Just picked 4 of our outstanding leaders for this evening. I'd like to present to you Ms. Mackenzie Gerber, Mr. Cameron Prill, Ms. Susanna Smith, and Ms. Samantha Schweiger. We're absolutely thrilled to be honored with this award. In the marching band world, this is similar to the Kennedy Center Honors or a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. The type of sustained excellence necessary to be awarded to Sudler is a direct result of the administrative and parental support that we receive here at Carmel Clay Schools. Thank you very much.
Next, it's my pleasure to turn to one of our outstanding teachers from our school district who has earned a very great honor from the Indiana Foreign Language Teacher of the Year Committee, and to present that award, I will turn to Ms. Brooke Watkins from Carmel High School. Brooke.
Thank you, Dr. Swenson, and good evening. It is a privilege and an honor for me to recognize Ms. Angelica Becker, who's the department chair for our World Language Department at Carmel High School. She was nominated and received the German Teacher of the Year award last year, which made her eligible for the Indiana Foreign Language Teachers Association Award for the state of Indiana. Each language group recognizes one person as a top candidate, and then they all compete or are eligible for the Teacher of the Year in the overall World Language Department. She completed a portfolio, which was then reviewed by a committee, and the criteria is based on classroom instruction and teaching materials, professional development both within our school and outside of our school, and service to the profession. And I am privileged and honored to recognize and award Angelica with this award tonight.
I'm delighted next to introduce Mr. Bruce Wolf, Assistant Athletic Director at Carmel High School. Carmel High School is indeed fortunate to have outstanding programs throughout, and our athletic programs are no exception. We have 3 Indiana Coaches of the Year, and Bruce will introduce those fine individuals.
Sebastian, I could use a little teleprompter work. If you and I could get together later and you could help me out, I'd appreciate it. Congratulations. That's awesome. On behalf of the Carmel High School Athletic Department and the roughly 1,300 athletes we serve, I'd like to thank the board and administration for, again, creating this opportunity for us to recognize some of our accomplishments. It's hard to be humble here at Carmel Clay Schools. I'm sure you all feel that. The National Federation of State High School Associations is the national governing body for school-sponsored athletics across the United States, and each year this federation offers a State Coach of the Year award in each of the school-sanctioned sports. So in Indiana there are 21 of those awards presented. Carmel High School, I'm proud to say, has 3 of those 21 among its coaching staff. Each of these head coaches led their teams to state championships, and this national recognition, in my opinion, is indicative of the work ethic and sacrifice they give on behalf of our kids. I'd like to introduce them to you now at this time. Up first is our head girls cross country coach, Mark Ellington. Next honoree is head girls soccer coach, Frank Dixon. Interestingly enough, those two won their state championships on the same day. And our head boys basketball coach, Scott Heddy. Congrats, guys. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, next on our agenda, we have public participation. We do have one individual wishing to speak. I'd like to remind those that are speaking to please state your name and address. You have 2 minutes to share your thoughts. There's a yellow and a red light up there to just give you a little indicator should you be getting close to your 2 minutes. So I will first call Jennifer Penix.
Thank you. I am here for 2 reasons. I get to be here with my son tonight, so thank you for recognizing him. But I'm here actually on behalf of the Orchard Park Elementary PTO. Do I need to state my name and address? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm Jennifer Penix. My address is 1963 Hill Valley Court, Indianapolis, 46280. And like I said, I'm here on behalf of the Orchard Park Parent-Teacher Organization. We are hosting Taste of Carmel on March 7th, this Thursday, March 7th. Taste of Carmel is a community-wide event, so we just want to get the word out and invite you all to come and share the evening with us. We have 41 restaurants that are coming from the Carmel area. They include restaurants, caterers, breweries, wineries. It's a one-price ticket for $25. I promise you'll have more than you need to eat or drink. There's caricatures and a photo booth and stuff, but this is the most important thing is this is our primary fundraiser for Orchard Park. So I'm happy to see all of these sparkly rings up here this evening. We are having a bling ring raffle as part of our event that evening. So for $10 you can buy a raffle ticket, you'll get a bling ring, and you'll also be entered into a drawing for a piece of jewelry from Distinctive Diamonds that is worth far more than this bling ring is. However, we think these will be rather popular that evening. So it's a really, really fun evening. There's a great opportunity to come together and get together with people that you maybe don't see very often across the community, but we just invite you to join us. So thank you for that opportunity.
Oh, and there you go. Next on our agenda, we have district update. And our district update is called Spotlight on Education. Sure. Actually, we'll take a brief break for those who might want to get home and work on their studies. So let's recess for 2 minutes. Okay, meeting back in session. So let's jump to Spotlight on Excellence. And for those who have not had an opportunity to join us, our district update, we typically have a Spotlight on Excellence, which is an opportunity to showcase some of the great, marvelous things that we're doing with our students and local community. And tonight we have the Carmel Education Foundation, Barbara Danquist and Stephanie McDonald. Please.
Thank you, Layla, and thank you, School Board, for allowing us to attend. We are all about excellence and all kinds of wonderful, exciting things that are going on in the school system. And I want to tell you a little bit about what's happening with the Carmel Education Foundation. Tomorrow evening, we are having our 27th annual showcase at Clay Middle School from 5 until 9. And at this particular showcase, we're going to have 9 elementary and 2 of our middle schools performing either in choir, jazz bands, or ensembles, and performing their wonderful things they've all planned and rehearsed for this super, super event. Now, not only are we going to have those school students participating, but we're going to have the high school CHTV students who will be videotaping all of the performance. They then will edit it and show it during our telethon that Barb Danquist is going to tell you about. During this particular event, we're going to be collecting donations. As anyone who comes in would like to donate, we would just love to take their money. And part of that, the portion, we will be dividing a portion of our donation with all the music departments that are participating. So we're real excited. This is a new twist that we haven't done in the past, and we're real excited to be able to give back to the music departments that are actually coming to participate. This is also, with our donations, one of the great ways that the Carmel Clay schools can benefit, because the Education Foundation helps to provide grants that are given to our teachers, who in fact then utilize those in their classroom to enhance the learning and the teaching, whether it be through technology, visual aids, learning packages or programs that they may in fact use in their classroom. The showcase, then, as I said, will be taped. But when are we going to see it? Well, it will be shown during our telethon, which, as I said, Mrs. Danquist will tell you about, on CHTV. And it'll be a wonderful opportunity for these students to be showcased again as you get to watch them on TV as well. So we would love to invite you all to come tomorrow evening to Clay Middle School. From 5 to 9, watch our performances of these very talented Carmel Clay students. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Barbara Danquist, and I'm the other half of the Carmel Education Foundation Executive Directors. We do want to tell you that for us to keep giving back to the teachers that give to the students, that we ask the community to help us. So definitely the telethon, which you mentioned a couple of times, is in March, and it's the 12th, 13th, and 14th. And we have high school students plus volunteers calling on you, the community, and parents, and asking you to give to the Carmel Education Foundation, so we in turn can then give grants to the teachers that are helping in their classroom and helping 15,000 students that are part of the Carmel Clay schools. Now, the telethon is not, the showcase will be shown during the telethon, and the telethon itself, in its 27th year, is our way that we reach out to the community. So we hope that when that phone rings, that you'll answer and you'll say yes, because then we can give to more teachers. Then, of course, it goes to more classrooms. And some of the people that have already received a grant this year, one is for the Arts Garden at Carmel High School, is Jennifer Bupp. Easels for Rachel Rodriguez at Carmel Elementary. NASA Online, Pam Irwin, Creekside. Culinary Service Save, Brenda Lester at Carmel High School. ES Special Needs, Aaron Oskay, Cherry Tree Elementary. Clickers for Jill Grimes, Carmel High School. And Board Makers at Alicia Larkin at Carmel Elementary. So we thank each and every one of you for all you have done. And as I said, when that phone rings, please answer and say yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do any of the board members have any questions about the upcoming showcase? Well, we look forward to your showcase tomorrow evening. My boys are very excited. They will be performing. So there's a plug. Please, everybody, come out to Clay. So it truly is. Next on our agenda is consent. May I get a motion to approve consent?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Next, we move to action items, and our first action item comes to us from Mr. McMichael.
Thank you. There we go. Thank you. The first item is a deduct change order for the roof replacement project that we did this past year at Cherry Tree Elementary School. This deduct closes out that project.
Do I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve a deduction.
Second.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Next.
Thank you. The next is, we always do the add change orders second. And this one indeed is an add change order for the fitness center project at the high school in the amount of $19,430. It's related to the need to provide padding under certain areas of the floor where the weightlifting stations are at. And we needed to know the placement of the equipment before we knew where to put the padding. So we anticipated this, is what I'm saying. It wasn't an oversight.
May I get a motion on the table?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Okay, see no discussion. Let's take a vote. All in favor? Aye. Next, we have Dr. Dillon, who's going to present 8315.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to come to you tonight with a second reading on a policy. Try to remember way back a year ago, January 2012, we did a first reading on this policy. This policy has kind of stayed out there in limbo since then. Our revised policy committee has been working through backlog of policies, and we came across this one the other day with the idea that we needed to take care of it hanging out there. Since then, it has been referred back to our information technology department. Mrs. Cloud and her department have reviewed this policy. We've also sought legal advice, and it will just show you that the rapid state of information management has changed so rapidly in the last 12 months that this policy now is a policy that we bring to you as a recommendation to not pass so that we can get this policy off the book. It's changed so much since then, it is now outdated already.
Okay, may I get a recommendation or a motion?
I move to not pass this policy.
May I get a second?
Second.
Discussion? Oh,
It's rather refreshing to see a policy go away.
we think so too. Okay, then, all in favor of withdrawing this policy?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. I know we'll be bringing you back up in a moment. And our next discussion, our next action item is grievance 2012-08. May I get a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion. I move to deny grievance 2012-08.
May I get a second?
Second.
Discussion? All, yes.
I realize this is a personnel matter, and we cannot divulge the identity of the person involved. I did want to ask if the suggested change to the decision letter has been made or not.
My motion was to deny the grievance with the response letter that the board has seen from our attorney. That's my motion.
Okay.
No, I don't believe any changes have been made. To my knowledge, I don't believe the attorney had any personal feedback or conversations with any of us individually to send us something different.
Oh, yes, I had made a suggested change. I had suggested a change in the decision letter. So apparently he did not act on that.
The decision letter, no, I don't believe he has made any changes. I don't believe that letter is out as of now, that nobody has received that. He can't move forward until we make action on this particular grievance.
Okay.
And the action that we have on the table right now is to deny this grievance. not
Okay.
about the specifics of the letter, but to deny the grievance.
Then I understand that we can pass the motion and still have an opportunity to edit
Yes.
the letter. Is that correct?
That is correct, as long as the editing supports the denial of the grievance.
On that basis, I'm okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor of denying grievance 2012-08?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Grievance denied. Moving on to discussion. Dr. Dillon, we invite you back up.
Thank you. It's kind of like Mr. McMichael and his change orders. We'll do the positive one first, take it away, and then we'll add 5 more. So, thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight to discuss some policies, and I bring to you tonight a series of policies for a first reading. You were given these policies 2 weeks ago at your meeting for review. Bylaw 0167.5, use of school corporation electronic mail by school board members. This is a brand new bylaw. It was first proposed by Neola. It has been reviewed by the policy committee. It has even had some direction given to us by our school attorney, and it has been looked at by our information technology department. This new language in this bylaw tracks the most frequent external real-world challenges, i.e. litigation holds, an Access to Public Records Act, and a request and a claim of misuse of public resources to campaign for an elected position or candidate. There has been a substantial increase in the number of APRA, Access to Public Records Act, requests for board member email messages, not necessarily us, but the clients that Neola represents. This bylaw reflects the current state of the law and should be adopted to have accurate bylaws. That comes as a recommendation from Neola. These proposed changes have been reviewed by the School Board Policy Committee.
Thank you. Do we have some discussion on bylaw? Yes.
I have a question. I don't know if it's so much a question, but a comment. In paragraph 5, it talks about board members using a school corporation email address shall be subject to, hold on a minute here. That each email message from a board member using their school corporation account shall include a warning that messages to and from board members using a school corporation email address shall be subject to production in response to a request under the Access to Public Records, or APRA. I don't right now include this on my email, and I guess put it out there, and I recognize this is first reading for board members to think about if that's something that we want to include in all of our emails, or that we need to include in all of our emails as we put that out there. Personally, I have to say, when there's a controversial issue, I will remind the person that sends it to me, but I don't regularly put that on there. So I don't know what the subcommittee has talked about, or if that's something we need to discuss further, look into, but it caught my eye.
And I will say to you that that has been reviewed by our information technology department, that particular paragraph.
Okay.
And our school attorney has weighed in on that. And late today, we received a recommendation from our information technology department that that should be removed from this bylaw. We meet with the policy committee tomorrow, and I'm sure that'll be a discussion of topic of discussion for tomorrow.
Well, there you go. That's
I
pretty
might add
updated
that
info.
the reason that that recommendation was given is that this might give a false sense of security to someone that reads the email, and all school board emails are subject to public record access regardless of this disclaimer or not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessary to have.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Yes, Mr. Phillips?
Thank you. Dr. Dillon, just a couple of things. First of all, fairly minor, but in the second paragraph, it talks about board members may include email address and so forth. I think, from my understanding, it might be clear to say board members may use their school email accounts. It may be a small distinction, but I'm an IT guy, so I'm used to thinking in terms of email accounts. Email addresses are the of course, the literal string that you use to send something. So if that wouldn't be too troublesome a change, that might clarify it. My
I made the
second
note.
comment is more substantive. Since this bylaw talks about, in effect, the proper use of email, I just wonder if there shouldn't be some reference to the open door law, where I think we're, as public officials, we're directed not to use email as a way to circumvent the intent of the open door law. That's not really necessary. Obviously, the law is going to hold whether we say so here or not, but, it seemed to kind of fit.
I understand that. I have someone in the audience that's taking notes for me, and we will discuss these recommendations with our policy committee. I will tell you, and I would not be able to quote the number off the top of my head, but I believe that you do have a bylaw that does talk about all of your meetings, and I think it specifically talks about holding meetings through email in that bylaw.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I do want to note that I did have a discussion with a fellow board member, and we will probably be changing in the third paragraph where it says the list of students. I think we probably want to maybe acknowledge names and contact information of students. Instead of just using the word list, I think we might want to be a little more descriptive on that. And that was an oversight on our subcommittee's part, but that's why we have discussion. Any other discussion on this bylaw? Okay, let's move on to our first reading of Policy 1520.
Thank you very much. Policy 1520, Evaluation of Administrators. Policy 1520 would be a new policy for Carmel Clay Schools. It is proposed by Neola and our policy committee. This is a new policy for Carmel Clay Schools that aligns the evaluation of administrators with the evaluation of other certificated staff. The new evaluation laws use the term certificated employees, not just teachers. This policy change reflects the current state of the law and should be adopted to have accurate policies. These proposed changes have been reviewed by the School Board Policy Committee. I also will remind the board that we have now been moving into adding policies specifically designed for administrators that mirror our other policies for staff to make sure that we have a category for administrators that is specifically for them.
Thank you. Discussion. Mr. Phillips.
Thank you. Dr. Dillon, this will seem like the smallest possible amendment, but I think it may have some merit. In the very last paragraph, where it talks about for those administrators, meaning those certificated employee administrators, a similar evaluation plan shall be developed pursuant to Policy 3220. I just wonder if there would do any damage to the intent here to eliminate the word similar. My reason for pointing to that word is that it raises potential questions as to what would be the differences between plans for administrators versus plans for other certificated staff, and I'm not sure that the purpose here is to talk about potential differences so much as it is just to simply say that certificated administrators will have a plan developed pursuant to 3220.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will discuss that in Policy Committee.
Any other discussion items on this? Okay, next, let's move to 5130, withdrawal from school policy.
Policy 5130, withdrawal from school. 5130 is a revised policy. We currently have a 5130 policy. This revised change was proposed by Neola. It has been reviewed by the Policy Committee. This policy has been expanded to include more information related to the reasons a withdrawal from school can be approved. The additional information in this policy is optional, but it outlines the requirement of the law, and it would be a handy resource for parents and students considering this option. These proposed changes have been reviewed by the School Board Policy Committee.
Thank you. Discussion. Okay, seeing no discussion, let's move on to number 4, please. Attendance.
Policy 5200, attendance. This is also a revised policy for Carmel Clay Schools. This revision was proposed by Neola and has been reviewed by the policy committee. The changes to this policy are from the recommendation portion of the Indiana Department of Education's update of its attendance guidelines memorandum that came out last year. This memorandum update was in response to the passage of Senate Enrolled Act 1. Senate Enrolled Act 1 also requires that the governing body of each school corporation shall have a policy outlining the conditions for excused and unexcused absences. The policy must include the grounds for excused absences. Any absences that result in a person not attending at least 180 days of school, and I will point out that in Carmel we have 182 days, must be in accordance with the governing body's policy to qualify as an excused absence. Since Senate Enrolled Act 1 requires districts to have a policy outlining conditions for excused and unexcused absences, this policy, therefore, is a required policy. These policy changes reflect the current state of the law.
Open for discussion. Mr. Phillips.
Yes, please. Dr. Dillon, on the first page, the very last sentence, it currently says that the board reserves the right to verify such statements and to investigate the cause of absences. Well, being a part-time participant in this great corporation, I would like to avoid any more work than I absolutely have to do. So would it do any damage to the policy to change that to say that the superintendent reserves the right to verify statements and to investigate?
I don't think that it would change the intent of this policy at all. I will say to you, though, that we all do our duty from the board's authority to do that duty and carry out those policies. So I believe that's what it's referring to, not that you would have to do that, but that you have the authority to do that and we get the ability to do that through your authority.
Well, I think your point's well taken. So long as you promise me that I don't have to do any
I promise you will not have to go out with me on attendance calls to houses.
I'm happy.
Although I could use the help, Mr. Phillips.
It's not much.
Any other discussion?
I have one question. I notice it says illness verified by a note from the parent for up to 10 a school year. What happens if it's beyond 10?
We currently have a program called the ACES program. It's been developed several years ago and now used countywide in a partnership with the Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office. It's been a very effective program for Carmel Clay Schools in helping reduce attendance problems that were accumulating up to 50 and 60 absences a school year. And so we have a very methodical program that at 7 days we'll reach out to the family and contact them just to let them know that we're monitoring the attendance, ask if there's any problems that we can help with the student, because we all know coming to school means an opportunity to be successful. At day 10, we're going to call you in for a conference. We're going to talk to you about your child's attendance, and we're going to ask you at that point to only be absent with doctor's excuse notes. If that doesn't continue and happen, then there are further steps eventually leading to reports to the prosecutor's office.
Thank you.
Any other discussion, questions? Okay, then let's move on to our fifth first reading, Policy 5464.
Thank you very much. 5464, early graduation. This is also a revised policy for Carmel Clay Schools. It was proposed by Neola. It has been reviewed by our policy committee. 2 citations have been repealed and have been removed. A new citation has been added to this policy. This policy also is this policy revision reflects the current state of the law and should be adopted to have accurate policies. These changes have been reviewed by the School Board Policy Committee.
Any discussion? Excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Dillon.
Thank you very much.
I would like to remind the board that the subcommittee plans to bring all of these back for a second reading and hopeful approval for the March 11th workshop. And we'll be meeting twice this week as a subcommittee, so if you should have questions or concerns, please let us know. You excited? Okay.
Sounds like a recording.
Next on the agenda, we have Dr. Dudley, who's going to be discussing standardized assessments.
Great, thank you. In just a second, we'll have the PowerPoint come up. But I'm here to share with the board that we are getting ready to start our testing season of standardized assessments. And as you can see from this slide up here, on March 4th, we will, which is next week, we will start the I-STEP Applied Skills. Our I-STEP Applied Skills, those would be our open-ended questions that we test our students in grades 3 through 8 in English Language Arts and Math, and we also test our students in 4th and 6th grade in Science and our students in 5th grade and 7th grade in Social Studies in the Applied Skills. These assessments are all paper pencil assessments in that timeline. And then March 18th opens up our window for our I Read 3, and this is our 3rd grade reading assessment. That this is a result of the House Enrolled Act 1367 from 2 years ago, where we are assessing all 3rd graders and looking at their reading ability. So that is the window is 3 days. It's designed for the students to be assessed in a 1-day time period. And that assessment is online. The students will take that assessment online. And then starting April 29th, we move into the I-STEP multiple choice. And this again is grades 3 through 8. It is the second part of the I-STEP, and those assessments are all online as well. And as you can see, April 23rd through May 24th, there's a large window. We're not testing all of those days, but that's the entire window with our high school ECA, our end-of-course assessments in Algebra 1, Biology 1, English 10, and we also give Algebra 1 to our students in 8th grade that are currently taking Algebra 1 at the end-of-course assessments. So we have those windows, and those assessments also are online. And so I just wanted to share that with the board, that information, and to see if you had any questions.
I have one question. If you could just remind me, so under current state guidance, we'll be moving to the park, the state will be moving to the park assessment?
Currently, the way it is, and that's up for discussion.
Yeah.
However, the way the current standardized assessment, I-STEP is supposed to, as they call it, sunset in 2014, in the spring of 2014, and then 2014-15 would be the first year of the Common Core assessments.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know last year we experienced, or we didn't, the state experienced a problem with their online tests. Have we been given any assurances that that won't happen again? And if it does, are we prepared for those students to have a stop in their testing and moving on?
Yeah, last year the state had some glitches. Fortunately, in Carmel Clay schools, we were very fortunate that we did not have major glitches in our online assessments. Prior to testing, we work very closely with all of our building technicians, and we perform what they call stress tests to make sure that our computers can accurately handle the data, and then they download the data. All of our students also participate in online practice tests. And so that simulates making sure that those glitches are caught before it happens. But there are procedures in place if something happens where a student's screen freezes up. There's different procedures, and our teachers and also our technicians are very alert to what are those next steps so that that student doesn't miss out on having the opportunity to have I-STEP.
And also, can you tell me the total amount of testing time that all of this takes?
For the applied skills, you can see we have an 8-day window, but in our middle schools applied skills, that's we test for 2 days. It's approximately 90 minutes each of those days for the applied skills in the middle schools. In the elementary schools, it is a 3-day window, which is it runs from approximately 60 minutes to 90 minutes, depending on the grade level. For the iRead, that is a 1-day assessment, and that's 72 minutes, and then you add on directions and things, so we actually schedule 90 minutes. Then the multiple choice, that the online is a 10-day window, and it ranges from, with multiple choice, it's testing approximately, as we look at the online, we break that out into several days. The students are testing approximately 60 to 80 minutes a day for the online piece, but then that runs, depending on the grade level, 5 days or 6 days. And then with the iStep ECA, that is in one sitting, and usually around 90 minutes, depending on the subject level.
Any other questions? Well, gosh, thank you, Dr. Dudley. Very efficient there. Okay, moving right along. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President. I, too, will wait for the miracle of technology to catch up with the power of the human voice. Okay. I wanted to provide, relatively briefly for the board, a quick legislative summary. Obviously, the legislature is still in session with many ideas, bills, and amendments before them. But I've spent some time going over the various House and Senate bills that are germane to us, and I've tried to winnow them down to a very scant few for this summary this evening. The first that I would like to call everyone's attention to is Senate Bill 189, and the color code at the top is meant to be illustrative of the fact we like Senate Bill 189, green light, go. And in fact, the Senate has moved forward very aggressively, and I was typing too fast. Senate Bill 189 has passed the Senate 44-5, and then has been assigned in the House of Representatives to Representative Todd Houston. Representative Houston is a new legislator and represents the Hamilton Southeastern, roughly, school district. But I would certainly note for the board and for any citizens listening that it's very important to urge passage of Senate Bill 189 as it's been written in the Senate. We can certainly use support and a positive regard for Representative Houston in carrying this bill to the House, and we would believe that passage of the bill, Senate Bill 189, as written in the Senate, is in the best interest of the Carmel Clay schools. The bill is still referred to as Senate Bill 189, so there's no new House number. Therefore, there's no conflict. There's no mishmash in terms of wondering what to call it. But anyone who is so moved to do so certainly can get in touch with any representative, certainly those who serve our neighborhoods. Representative Torr has been very supportive of this concept as well. So certainly Senate Bill 189 is very much alive and well. I would next turn to House Bill 1381, and the red color is illustrative of where I believe our school district needs to be on this bill. And I've boiled down this bill is rather complicated, and it requires school systems, not just, of course, the Carmel Clay schools, to accept any and all transfer students. The Carmel Clay schools have long, properly I believe, had a policy that prohibits transfer students. We have made an exception to that in terms of a benefit to employees, which I regard as different, that students or children of employees can, in fact, attend school with the Carmel Clay schools should their parent so choose that. But in fact, House Bill 1381 really takes away local control of the placement of students. It not only takes that control away from us in the sense of potentially students who would come from outside the district, but it takes away the local control to place students inside the district. And that simply really doesn't make a lot of sense. We know very well and work very hard, as the board knows, to calculate enrollment, to attempt to make sure that we do the very best job in terms of class size that we can. But House Bill 1381, as it's written currently, does not allow local enrollment, which is the enrollment that we're obviously very invested in, and properly so, engaged with our children from our school corporation. But that's not the priority that's established by this bill. And I certainly would call to the board's attention and or any stakeholders who are listening to this to become informed about this bill, because this is obviously just a summary. But I think communication with any representative about this bill is not a local control friendly bill. It's certainly not a bill friendly to the Carmel Clay schools, simply because we, I think, have the best judgment, the best information, and ought to make the best decisions about how to handle, work with, and manage, in fact, enrollment. The next bill to call to your attention is House Bill 1337. And this bill just sort of came up out of the blue, so I don't have as much information about it. But it actually provides competition for Senate Bill 189, which we regard as completely counterproductive. Senate Bill 189 is very explicit. Has had a great deal of input from school corporations, as the board recalls, from around the state of Indiana. We have worked diligently with legislators on the wording, with the Indiana Chamber of Commerce. I mean, this is Senate Bill 189 is a very well-written, comprehensive package, whereas House Bill 1337 is competition for Senate Bill 189, and it eliminates local control again, which I'll try to learn more about this. I just really, in researching all the bills that are out there, came across this, and it's very difficult to understand why it would be even in the mix. Now, there are other provisions in the bill that deal with turnaround academies. Frankly, I'm not weighing in about turnaround academies. We're not subject to that. But I would call to the board's attention certainly that any communication with our representative, Jerry Torr, and certainly any stakeholder listening who wants to communicate to really question this bill, since Senate Bill 189 really does what school districts ought to have. House Bill 1337, in essence, is, again, counterproductive. Then last but not least, I sort of changed the color on this bill. House Bill 1001 is in my right hand. I'm using it for being an older person. It's really good for weightlifting. And normally I don't print things out like this. However, this is the budget. I would note in calling everyone's attention to the budget, as everyone knows, is for a biennium for the next 2 years. And the budget is preliminary, so what I'm about to say simply should be taken as what the budget now says. Budgets tend to change via amendments in the proper legislative process. However, there are items of concern for our school corporation in that preliminary numbers in the budget indicate that school districts generally across the state would receive potentially 2%, what we old folks used to call new money in the first year, and potentially 1% money in the second year of the biennium. Again, these are preliminary numbers. However, the financial guru to my left has thoughtfully calculated in his marvelous way and very accurate way that actually the increase that we would anticipate, and I believe, Roger, I'm going to quote you accurately, is 0.68%. 0.68. Am I? Yeah, okay. I don't remember if that, Mrs. Freed, is an irrational number, but I think it is, and therefore, while it may not be mathematically irrational, it certainly seems irrational to me as a superintendent. Now, the preliminary numbers in this budget are not the final formula. we are hopeful that through the legislative process that there can be some adjustments that would be in the best interest of the Carmel Clay schools. However, certainly it would appear that again, this weightlifting exercise now holds, again preliminarily, will not move the Carmel Clay schools up from being the third lowest per pupil funded school corporation in the state. With these preliminary numbers involved, I would just call to the board's attention some very difficult circumstances. State dollars, if this remains, are going to be insufficient to cover our regular costs. I would note, and this has nothing to do with the budget, but it's certainly a factor that we're dealing with, our assessed valuation as a corporation has declined for the past 3 years. It's a very serious item, and we've talked about this in our financial reports. And the third item, we continue, by virtue of the generosity of our community, to be making up, as you know, the shortfall that the state visited upon us just a couple of years ago, and that's annually almost $4 million at $3.8 million. Now, the referendum helps with that, but that money is obviously is there only by virtue of the referendum. If and when that money was restored, it would make a significant difference to our district. And certainly while we're very fortunate to have a good cash balance, cash balances don't last forever. So just, again, as an update for the board, House Bill 1001 doesn't have a red, doesn't have a green. It's, a very practical document. It's blue only because I'm a little blue to report this to you, because it's not thus far the very best financial news that our district could look for, and certainly I would urge that we all continue our communications with our representatives in regard to this bill for sure, and the other three that I've mentioned. And that concludes my report, Madam President.
Thank you very much, Dr. Swenson. If any new information comes out about these bills or any other, please be sure to share that with us.
Yes, certainly. It's a busy season in a lot of ways, and I'll do my very best, and I count on the good communication with the board too, because I know Mrs. Nals is very knowledgeable, and the board keeps track of this too, so working together. But these four, there are obviously a lot more bills out there, but these were the ones that seem to have the most, shall we say, significant impact for better, for worse, and then for unknown in the sense of right now of the budget, since it is preliminary.
Thank you. And next we have board reports. I do know Mrs. Hackett has something she wants to share.
I do. Thank you very much. Turn my ring back on because I am the school board liaison for Orchard Park Elementary, and I wanted to, I'm so glad that Jennifer Penix spoke during public participation. She's the PTO president at Orchard Park, and I'm glad that she was able to say a few words about Taste of Carmel as their fundraiser, but also as a community gathering event on March 7th, and she gave you all the information. But I also wanted to note that March 7th, there's a lot going on in this district because we have very involved students and staff and parents and families. March 7th, the evening of March 7th, is also our two community opportunities to give input to the development of our leadership profile for our superintendent, for our next leader of our district. It's a busy evening that night. So if you live on the east side, Clay Middle School at 7:45 will be a public session for the leadership profile input, and on the west side, Creekside Middle School at 7:30 on that same evening. So I wanted to remind you of that, but also put a plug in for Taste of Carmel because that's a great event too. Thanks.
Quick question for you about the Taste of Carmel.
Yes.
Doesn't that start at 4:30? So people would have an opportunity to
information I
engage in
have
both?
here is Taste of Carmel is from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Oh, okay.
So you can do a quick one to the other, but it would have to be really quick and
Okay.
well planned out.
Well, thank you. Any other board reports this evening? Wonderful. Well, with that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this evening. Thanks to teachers and staff and our administration for dedicating their time and efforts to our students. Meeting is adjourned.
Yes. A good thumb drive that's worth its weight in gold or silver. Nicely done, Dr. Dillon. Thank you so much.
I'm involved in David's path now.
So it's superintendent's monthly practice. No, I know. So I will go tomorrow. So I just won't be here, but I will come in. Do paint the roof, do whatever it is. Yeah.